So if you have ADHD or OCD or PTSD or anything with letters, then this might be for you. If not, then it's not the video for you. But for me, I'm writing a lot about this in my book, of course. But I was diagnosed early on. Well, we didn't know it was ADHD early on, but then as I got into my teen years, it was diagnosed as ADD, not ADHD. Of course, now everything's under that umbrella, and it's interesting because prior to being diagnosed, you're fidgety, you're jumping around. Plus I had anxiety, OCD. Like, you don't know those things at 7, 8 years old. And they definitely didn't know it in the 70s and 80s. This was in the 70s and early 80s. And it was really difficult, I think, because people would say, sit down, stay, like, you're not focused. And you're like, oh my God, okay, what's wrong with me, right? And you go through all of that. And then fast forward ahead with trauma. The PTSD I've pretty much dealt with, over a period of time. So it's not really a thing. Like, it's there, but it's nowhere near active like it used to be. Now, my ADHD and my OCD, they are very happily married. And I will tell you, I use them as my superpower. I actually like having them, right? I'm sure, well, first of all, I don't know anything else, right? So if I don't know anything else, I really have nothing to compare it to, but I don't mind it. And let me tell you why I don't mind it, because when you are ADHD, you are very creative. You're very, very creative, actually. So when you're in the state of ADHD, remember, you got all these big ideas. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm telling you from my experience, big ideas. You're like, oh, I'm going to start this project and that project and this project and that project. Where it becomes problematic is where it becomes analysis paralysis, right? When you get that ADHD paralysis. And I've had that, like, where you're like, I don't know what to do. And so I want to tell you that really, really important things is to stay on a strict schedule. In the next video that I'm going to do this week, that you'll see here, I'm going to give you 2 tools that I use that are they're online tools that I really use to help me stay organized and to plan my meals, right? And I'm working on a program to give you guys how to actually get rid of things and simplify, but from an ADHD perspective. And OCD. So now, if you just have ADHD, that can be problematic in itself until you can understand it and lean into it. Throw OCD in, and they sort of like to battle each other a little bit, right? Because OCD is like, stay focused. Here we are. Let's get this done. And ADHD goes, okay. Ooh, did you see the birds? It's so pretty, right? And so there's a lot that goes on. So that's why micro goals. And I did episode 37 on my podcast with it, but I just am redoing a kind of a broader, brand new one for you. So you can kind of see, and I'm going to have the tools in there that I use. And they're just online tools that I have. But the important factor is, and my OCD really helped me with my educational piece of understanding, just how my brain works. And so when I went down the rabbit hole of understanding human development and human behavior and why my brain does what it does and what that neuroplasticity looks like and how to repair the brain, the OCD was great for that. Seriously, it really was, because it still is, right? Because I'm always learning new things. And my OCD says, oh my God, you got to learn. Not Google stuff, full on learn it to where you understand it, not so much to control it, but to understand it. Because a lot of times when you take education, when you get education, a lot of times people are looking to change it to stop it. I like to understand it, and then I can think of a good strategy. But I'm sharing this with you because a lot of people may have an ADHD diagnosis. Now, I've had mine for a while. Yes, you want to talk to your doctor about it. Same thing with an OCD thing. Don't think of OCD as just well, before I drink this coffee, I have to tap it 3 times or I think something bad's going to happen. Because again, that's part of OCD, right? That's your kind of the compulsions to kind of do things, where the OCD for me would be the obsessive thinking. So when you get in an obsessive loop, for me, super serious. It sounds so basic, and I used to try so many other things. I just go, I'm not thinking about that right now. That's literally my interrupter. I'm not thinking about that right now. Now, I might have to repeat that 80,000 times in a day. I used to, not as much anymore. But you want to break the pattern, and something just like, I'm not thinking about that right now. And again, sometimes those days can be tough if you have both of them, because the OCD will sometimes trigger more. Now, for me, I love my mood stabilizer. I'm on Lamictal, and it really does help me with my sort of that obsessive thinking. You can talk to your doctor about it, by the way. Don't like diagnose yourself off of this video. But when you are able to lean into your OCD and lean into your ADHD, it becomes your companion. And the key is to not try to outrun it and not to use it as an excuse, because it's real easy to be like, well, it's hard. I have ADHD. I can't. I'm OCD. Like, I understand that. Yes, it's a real thing, but don't use it as an excuse. It's a reason, not an excuse. And so when you lean into it to understand it, and yeah, right now I'm writing my second book, so I'm not taking anything. My daughter's ADHD. She happily takes her Adderall. It works fabulous. I'm a big fan of stimulants for ADHD. That's my personal thing. Doesn't have to be yours, but I'm just telling you what helps. And leaning into it and accepting it and then working with it. So like if I'm going to the gym the next day, I need to have my clothes laid out. I don't want to think about it. I want to take all the guesswork out of life, right? That's why I have to meal plan. That's why I have to follow my routine pretty much to a T, with the understanding that I might have a plan A, but plan A might be plan C in the universe. So you can plan as much as you can, but things are going to happen. And so you have to be willing to roll with the flow. But I'm telling you this in case you do have the ADHD or ADD, which is, again, all under one umbrella. And OCD. And like I said, I used to have the PTSD. It's still there, but it's not really active. And anytime you have alphabet soup like myself, it's important to understand them. And sometimes they will conflict each other, which can be a little stressful. And then, of course, I have severe anxiety disorder. I've had that all my life since I was like born. But again, I lean into it. So when you understand why your brain does what it does, why your body does what it does, why your thought processes do what they do, it gives you a little bit more power, and then you lean into it, right? Because the whole concept of leaning into something like that is to realize how it helps you. And again, ADHD people are largely creative. It's just giving yourself time to do that. So the less decision fatigue, because you want to go into analysis paralysis, right? But know that it can really benefit you. It really can. It can, like my OCD, when I started crochet, I was going to learn everything about crochet, and I'm still learning it, but I know a lot, right? Same thing with pickleball. And so when you lean into it, you become a companion with it. And then this way you don't feel so diagnosed. So I just thought I would share that with you. And in the next video, I'm going to tell you 2 of the things that I'd love to use that are online, that are paid. They're not sponsoring me, by the way. I paid for them. And I do the yearly membership, and it works really well for me. But you got to use them, right? So any tool that you have, you can't just go, ooh, new year, new me, and then have no plan, right? So everything is only going to work as well as you work it. So, but promise you, it can be actually a big benefit to you.